Hey everybody, welcome back to Fireside Chats with Farina. Farina here. Hello. We're going to continue our journey through Austen's classic Sense and Sensibility. Of course, when I say Austen's classic, they're all classics. I mean, that's what she does. She just wrote bangers. So Sense and Sensibility, here we are. Last episode we talked about the depth of Marianne Dashwood, which I think is underappreciated. And in this episode, I'm going to get a little controversial, maybe make some of you mad. I'm going to talk about the shallowness of Marianne Dashwood. So this is the only book where there's two specific leads. When we get to Emma later, we'll talk about that. There is a consideration that there's two leads. The book is actually called Emma, so it's hard to argue that. But in this book, there's the sisters, the Dashwood sisters. There's a third sister who is the focus of my book, that other Dashwood girl. But in this book, she's sort of background. Everybody forgets about her, which is what I found fascinating about her. And part of the reason I think everybody forgets about Margaret Dashwood is because Marianne Dashwood cannot help but take up all of the oxygen in every room that she's in. And so when we meet her, she's 16, she's a drama queen, and everything is about her. Their dad just died. Her brother just kicked her out of the house. I mean, this happens to everybody. It happens to her mom. It happens to both of her sisters. But you would think it only happens to her. And she is, sure, very dramatic, and she's very romantic. And she has this big, bold sense of what romantic love means. And she is convinced that you can only be in love one time. This is her thing. She's like, you can only fall in love one time, and that's it. And if you fall in love one time and then something happens, so like in her case, for her mother, her dad dies, well, that's it. But of course, there's this weird, it's right there. It's not even subtext, it's text. Her older brother, the one who kicked her out of her house, is her half-brother. Because her dad, who was clearly the love of her mother's life, they get along really well. His first wife passed away. But that's not how it works for Marianne. So it's right from the beginning, Marianne is in argument with herself, right? She's in constant conflict with everything that she says she believes in because she is just full of it. And there's something a little bit magical about her because she is that young woman who believes the stories she reads. She's almost quixotic in her quest for joy. If you've never read Don Quixote, you should. I love that book. But, Don Quixote has this whole idea of what a knight errant is, and he does the things that he needs to do. And Marianne is that way. And Don Quixote, of course, gets his idea from the books that he reads and the poetry that he reads, the tales of the knight errant. And Marianne has this very romantic view of what a young woman's life is supposed to be like. She very much believes she's the star of her own young adult novel. And that's what this book sort of is. She gets hurt. She gets betrayed, and ultimately she finds love. And we'll talk about that in a future episode of who her hero is. But there is, her villain, Willoughby, is hate that guy. When we talk about the villains, we're really talking about, he's really one of the worst. So Marianne just has this sort of, you can appreciate her when you look at her objectively. Outside, it's she's just this, she's sort of a silly young woman. I do in finger quotes. Because she is just trying her best. But I personally feel of all the heroines, she is definitely my least favorite. I don't consider her the heroine of this book, although most people do, because her wedding is last, and that's how it works. Marianne is the one you actually get to see her wedding. But yeah, she is so self-centered, and everything is about her, and you can understand why, but there is this weird conflict of that, the way that her mother and everybody around her lets her get away with it. And one of the things that Jane talks about in this, and it's different when we get to Pride and Prejudice, the pretty one. Marianne is a looker, right? That's her whole thing. Is she's so pretty, and she's so there's something about a stunning woman of the day. And granted, she's 16, but she might as well have one foot in the grave. She's not married at 16. And her sister Eleanor is 19, and they almost always, have her being portrayed by somebody who's way older. And the most famous version of Sense and Sensibility, it's Emma Thompson playing Eleanor and Kate Winslet playing Marianne. So yeah, that's how we do. We joke that Marianne, that Eleanor was never 19. And that's why Emma Thompson was perfect to play her, because she too was never 19. So Eleanor sort of dotes on her even though she shouldn't, and Margaret is in awe of her even though she shouldn't be, and everybody lets her get away with everything. And one of the things that we come to is this commentary on like how pretty she is. She's so beautiful, and she's so this, and she's so that. She's like so everything. If there had been a Miss Kent, 1801, she would have won. That's who she is. She's like the prototypical beauty queen, and there's nothing wrong with somebody who wants to be that, right? But like that's what she is, and that's sort of forced upon her, and so she acts in a certain way. She sort of lives the part, like she's assigned the part at birth, and so she owns it. But that is also kind of annoying because she's just a lot. So anyway, Marianne Dashwood, not a big fan, super shallow. But also, I realized as I was talking, I defended her a little bit, so that's interesting. So we'll find out. Let's tune in a couple weeks, and we'll start talking about the heroes of this book, because if you have two heroines, you have to have multiple heroes. So look forward to that, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.